I kept seeing requests for me to dive into the world of Guns N' Roses, and each time I would think, but I've done Guns N' Roses reactions. And finally, I decided to go back so I could say, oh, I've done these songs, only to realize I have not done any. Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining me here today. If you're new, I'm Amanda. Welcome to the channel where we are all about shattering the mental health stigma, and one of the ways I do that is by reacting to songs from a mental health lens. I'm pretty sure the only other Guns N' Roses song I've ever heard is Sweet Child of Mine, because contrary to popular belief, I'm not completely under a musical rock, but I only listened to that because I was trying to not be so awful at Guitar Hero, so I thought maybe if I listened to it, it would give me some insight to improve my game. It did not, but I feel like I never really gave the band a true chance. I never sat down and consciously listened to them and gave them my focus and attention just to enjoy the music. So that's what I'm gonna be doing today. This is my first real exposure to Guns N' Roses and my first time hearing November Rain. So let's dive into it. What is that statue? That's not what I expected. That's a dress choice.
Darling, when I hold you, don't you know I feel the same? Nothing lasts forever, and we both know hearts can change. And it's hard to hold a candle in the cold November rain. Been through this such a long, long time, just trying to kill the pain. Oh yeah. Never know what's coming, never know what's going. No one's really sure who's letting go today. Walking away. If we can take the time to lay it on the line, I can rest my head just knowing that you are mine.
All right, so the guy in the hat is Slash, right? Am I right? Did I know a music thing? I remember one of my friends printing out a picture of him and putting it on his brother's tires and saying, haha, I slashed your tires. So I think that is Slash, but other than that, I don't really know anything about the band. But I think the word restrained is doing a lot of work in the lyrics there, because the love isn't absent. It exists, but something is preventing its full expression. And I think that's super common, that for one reason or another, we can just get stuck in this position where we don't feel like we can fully be ourselves, or like we can fully express love. And that restraint could be fear, it could be pride, it could be emotional baggage, it could be past betrayals, or it could be the knowledge that the relationship is already starting to deteriorate. But notice that hearts don't simply break. It's the cliche that we say, oh, hearts break, but here the hearts are changing. And I think that's psychologically more unsettling, because change isn't necessarily caused by betrayal or conflict. It's not some grandiose thing. It doesn't always have to be something something ugly. It can just be people growing apart. Some people simply become different over time and no longer compatible because of that. But love can fade without anyone being the villain, and I think that that's really important because we often try to make one person out to be the bad guy, or we try to villainize an ex or the other person. That's not always the case. Sometimes it just fizzles out, and that's really unfortunate. But as for the holding you, physical intimacy temporarily bypasses emotional walls in many ways. I think like a hug or other expressions of physical intimacy can really help break down people's walls that they've built up because of past hurt or because of anxiety or fear. It can help break those down. Sometimes just touching someone's hand or touching someone's shoulder can be all the difference in helping them open up. And that's not just true in relationships. I've seen that many times when I've been talking to someone about their struggles, and just a simple touch of the hand and they will break, the floodgates just open and everything comes tumbling out. I think the embrace becomes that rare moment where both people are silently acknowledging feelings that they might struggle to verbalize, where it feels safe for that moment.
If you wanna love me, then darling, don't refrain. Rogers end up walking in the cold November rain. Do you need some time on your own? Do you need some time all alone? Oh, everybody needs some time on their own. Oh, don't you know you need some time all alone? I know it's hard to keep an open heart when even friends seem out to harm you. But if you can heal a broken heart, wouldn't time be out to charm you? Sometimes I need some time on my own. Sometimes I need some time all alone. Oh, everybody needs some time on their own. Oh, don't you know you need some time all alone?
Just looking back in this forlorn way, and I'm kind of curious as to where that's going. But I think that the guitar solo was really, it just felt like you're riding the waves of the emotion. Can you just imagine you're out in the desert and you come across this dude who's just jamming out in the middle of nowhere? I think that's kind of a funny visual, but I really like that. I think that the message here is healthy relationships require both vulnerability and personal space. And when he pleads, if you want to love me, then darling, don't refrain, he's expressing the emotional pain that can come from withheld affection, because it's very common for people to withhold affection. Now, that can be done in a very toxic way, almost a means for control, especially in narcissistic relationships. But there's also the people who withhold affection because they've been hurt and they don't want to leave themselves that vulnerable, or because in the case of many men, they've been raised not to show affection. They've been raised to believe that that can lead to people hurting them, and it can, but if you're in a healthy relationship, it shouldn't, or it won't. But it is a very common experience for people, so they put up those walls and stop showing affection openly, and that can really negatively impact the relationship. Needing time on your own recognizes that solitude is sometimes essential for mental well-being, but I think the line, "It's hard to keep an open heart when even friends seem out to harm you," that captures how betrayal and past emotional wounds can make trust and vulnerability really difficult. And ultimately, I think this is suggesting that a broken heart requires both time and the courage to remain emotionally open despite past pain. And that might even be past pain with the same person, that this person has in some way betrayed you and now you're trying to work through that and move to the other side together. I think that it could be either a past lover or the current lover with a past situation.
And when your fears subside and shadows still remain, oh yeah, I know that you can love me when there's no one left to blame.
Is it normal to wear black at the reception? I've never seen that, and I'm curious if that is symbolic in some way or if that is just a fashion choice.
So never mind the darkness, we still can find a way. Nothing lasts forever, even cold November rain.
Oh, that hurt. It's like $1,000 cake. Whoa! Did we just genre shift? Please slow down. I feel like I need to collect my thoughts here for a second, because that was a genre shift I didn't see coming. That might have been one of the biggest twists I've ever seen in a music video. It's what's interesting is that this didn't feel like a love story nearly as much as it felt like a story about anticipatory grief, but you didn't see it until the flip happened, until that shift happened. When I was saying, why is she in black at her wedding? That's really weird. Is that normal? Is that just a cultural thing that I wasn't aware of? But now it's the writing on the wall. And I think that it's a reminder that even during the happiest moments, there's this constant sense that something is wrong. There was this just anxiety that something is wrong. And then now that I'm thinking about it, the imagery really was reinforcing that. You have this enormous, almost fairy tale like wedding with all of these people, but it's being constantly contrasted with this darker imagery, like her black dress, the sudden storm coming crashing on the reception, as if happiness is temporary and just completely outside of our control, right? Like there's nothing we can do. We can never hold on to that. Everything is temporary. Everything is fluid. Then the video abruptly shifts to the funeral without explaining what happened. And I think the ambiguity is really powerful, because that's what grief feels like. There's not always this linear story. There's not always an explanation. Sometimes we don't have any meaning. Sometimes people don't get the answers or the closure that they're looking for. And one thing that I really like is that they don't focus on the cause of death here. They focus on his experience afterward. We see memories that are overlapping with reality, the wedding intercut with the funeral, which is really actually a common way that grief is described, that there's no clear-cut path. Yes, there's the Kubler-Ross stages of grief, but they happen out of order. They can happen sometimes on top of each other at the same time. So I think that's really interesting. But your brain keeps replaying these happier moments while trying to process the loss. So you're replaying these happy moments while also experiencing these really dark, sad ones. So I don't think that this video is really about death. I think it's about how fragile happiness can feel. So I still think that my initial analysis was spot on for what I knew at the time, not to toot my own horn, for what I knew at the time. But I think that it's about how our minds can reconcile immense joy with immense loss. It's very common to experience a very big loss and suddenly just go, okay, nothing's happy and I can never be happy ever again, and everything is just dark and miserable and pointless and hopeless. I think that the extended instrumental sections really forces us to sit with the emotions instead of rushing to the end, which I think is really amazing. Much like real life, healing can't be hurried, and I think the dynamic shifts from this delicate piano to these explosive guitars, and the venue changed. I noticed that initially they're in this opera hall type setting, and then it shifts to more of a concert hall, and I think that mirrors the emotional highs and lows that often accompany heartbreak and grief and the eventual healing and recovery. The overall tone, I think, from uncertainty to hope to loss to grief, those shifts there, I think it reminds us that healing is possible, in the end. But I only got that from the line. What was it? From the line. Oh gosh, I just lost my place. I'm so sorry. And when your fears subside and shadows still remain, I think that acknowledges that the recovery, the healing after losing somebody doesn't erase the grief. It doesn't erase your memories of them. It can eventually make love and connection to them possible again. Because at first, we don't know how to connect with somebody who's not really there anymore. And for me, when I lost my parents, I had to start finding ways to honor their memory. And that's how I reconnected with them. But that connection feels completely lost in the beginning. And it takes us some time to realize that we can have that again. By declaring nothing lasts forever, even cold November rain, I think that really drives home, it reminds us that painful seasons are temporary. I think there's just this little tiny nugget of resilience in there. But the repeated refrain, everybody needs somebody, it reinforces the importance of finding, people to connect with, that social connection, be it love, be it friendship, reminding us that healing is rarely something we have to face alone. So while we lost that person that was so important to us, we can't try to go through it alone because it can suffocate us. So finding other people that are grieving or connecting to our family that might still be there, friends that might still be there, is really important. I think the extra long runtime of this song, because it was 9 minutes and something, I think that really lets us experience the emotional journey instead of simply hearing about it. And I think that makes the progression feel more earned. But I just feel like I was all over the place. I had emotional whiplash listening to the song. It was just so back and forth. And I might be completely misinterpreting everything. I don't know. Like I said, I've never heard this song. I've seen this video. But that's my takeaway, that it was love until it wasn't, until it turned into grief. And it was very abrupt, just like in real life. So thank you for pushing me to come to Guns N' Roses. That was quite the emotional experience, both lyrically and just in listening to the ambiance. This genre just had such an ambiance about it. I've said that many times, but it just had such an ambiance about it that allows you to really sit there and experience the music in a deeper way than you can get from music nowadays. So I always appreciate the opportunity to do that. But like I always say, make sure you're sharing your mental health stories here in the comments, good, bad, and crazy. That is how we shatter the mental health stigma, is by talking about it. If you have lost someone, feel free to share your favorite memory of them so we can help you keep their memory alive and share their love with the world. Thanks for bringing me to Guns N' Roses. Let me know which song you think I should do next in the comments. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you again real soon. Mwah.